Just circling above, they all in a piece, but they don't even know.
We're here.
Won't get even the swipe for the train. Cloudy, ride to the airport, gonna get right for the
We are here.
Customs smell like right from your hand to the yes, they got no shame.
Technical difficulties today,
With a broken, we got no game.
but we're here. But we made it. Got another podcast right after this. It's gonna be live, baby. It's gonna be live, baby. Got the new HOE merch started up. This is our tester run. I think we're just gonna do a simple logo over the breast pocket to start. I think this one came out tight. I shot some content earlier before this podcast to kind of model it. I got a Big Moon shirt made. I'm gonna shoot some for that. A more active shoot. The reason we're doing a shoot is because I'm doing the cover of a local magazine in Coachella Valley. So I'll be featured on next month's edition, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I was on the news last week for the Black SD Magazine's internship. I'm kind of part of the beta test. Wanted to get some more input on business structure. So working on that. What else? Love, hate, and fear. So where that comes from. Listened to a podcast with Ron Funches and Joe Rogan last week. Ron Funches is a comedian, very funny, lost more than 100 pounds, very dope. Joe Rogan asked, as he does often, what is Ron Funches' writing process? And Ron Funches says he writes about what he loves, writes about what he hates, and writes about his fears, what he's scared of. And that is his creative process. He writes that out and creates comedy from that. So I think I'm going to steal that. That's a cool, dope way to create content, I think, and to create, organize this podcast. Because so many people ask me, dude, we don't talk about that. But people ask me how to start a podcast, and to speak into a microphone over 115 episodes is challenging. It's not very straightforward. It seems like it. Joe Rogan makes it look very easy. People make it look very easy to do a podcast, But Joe Rogan is naturally curious, first of all. He has access to some of the funniest people and the most interesting people, from Elon Musk to Rhonda Patrick to Joey Diaz. He has access to some of the funniest people, and he has a guest-based podcast. And then you have people like Theo, who does a monologue and a guest. He has access to interesting people, and he's a comedian. He's a professional speaker. He's a professional speaker who writes and then makes it look so natural. Everybody thinks they can do stand-up because they make it look like it's a conversation. But these are organized bits, and this is an organized act that they've worked on for sometimes more than a year. Well, definitely. Most comedians work on an act for 3 years unless you went and saw them, before you see it on Netflix or on television. So they make it look very easy, and everybody thinks they can do it. Everybody thinks I'm the funny one in my friend group. I'm funny. I can be funny on stage and talk to people. Even I used to think I can do it when I was a kid. I would be like, I can do that. Which maybe I could have done as a kid if I practiced. Dave Chappelle started as a teenager. But everybody thinks they can do a podcast because you make it look very easy. For me, I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe other people can do that. Maybe other people can. It's fine. But so many people ask me how to do it. So many people ask me how to do all the things that I do. They say, hey, I want to be a coach. Someone asked me one time, I want to be an online fitness coach. I was like, do you work? And first of all, are you certified in any background of fitness? They're like, no, I just work out. First problem. Get certified. Because there's so many coaches who are not, and they just say, I work out, so I'm going to be a coach. That's a shitty way to do it. I think that's a shitty way to do it. And same thing with the guy who asked me how to be a coach last week. He said, I heard you don't have to be certified. I said, so you're going to coach people based off of a lie? You're going to start a coaching program based off of fiction, based off of just your life experience? Who the fuck do you think you are? Everybody thinks they're fucking interesting. But I talk on this podcast, I don't think I'm interesting. I just think I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. And I have my personal experience. So I guess, yeah, you have your personal experience, but to coach people just solely based off of your insight, that's not fair to people. And to take their money because of that. And I also said to him, do the fucking work. He said, how do you become a coach? I said, so he's like, I've transformed my life. I stopped drinking. I work out now. I live this healthy lifestyle. I work a straight job. I don't work in bars anymore. First of all, I don't think that's significant. That's shitty on my part, but I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that, like, there's all these this manufactured motivation, or because she has a fat ass, or because you went through a transformative process because of your breakup, that you think you can now coach people through that. I think that sucks. I think, and I get resentful because I think that is shitty. I think that's shitty. I think that's a very shitty way to go about coaching. There's one girl in particular who talks all this shit. I wish I can speak so definitively about shit that I don't know about, really. I wish I could. You got all this white privilege, all this hot girl privilege. You can only do this because you have a boyfriend who's going to pay for you. And yes, there's some coaches who do this. I don't want to be sexist to say that not all women coaches who are hot don't do the work. A lot of them do. Most of them do, I probably think. But I know this person, and to speak so definitive about spiritual growth because of a breakup, it's like, oh, fuck. Bleh, bleh. So people ask me, how do I be a coach? Do the fucking work. Do the work in regards to your studies. Get a certification, or I would consider getting a number of certifications so you have a broad background. So take the time to do the work. You don't just get to be, you know what I mean, a business coach right away. Like, I want to be a business coach right out of college. Like, you're 25. Only, you know what I mean? That's not fair. You could be super smart, but that's not fair. It's not fair to people. But but this is my industry. And all these coaches, all of it is allowed. So I got to say that all of it is allowed. But for me as a coach, it's like, do the work and be qualified. Be qualified and be earnest and build your business on authenticity, not manufactured authenticity. Don't talk about bad stuff too. On this podcast, I've said, hear me not do good, which is terrible English. But that is a quote specifically, hear me not doing well. This is me not at my best. Tell people that part too. Tell people the shitty part. Tell people this. Tell people you went from shooting to be on a cover of a magazine, and to being on the news, and to pulling in multiple $1,000 client, to then driving Postmates in the same day. Oh, you putting the work in? That's a story right there. That's a story you tell your grandkids. Say, I did all this. I was doing all this shit. And then I went and drove Postmates to make sure my family had everything that we needed and I could put some money away. And I drove Lyft this weekend and I drove Postmates. Tell people that story. I don't post that, but I'm saying it right now. Go from doing the work and hustling to my boy, he's printing shirts. He's selling masks. My cousin-in-law, my brother-in-law, he's making masks. He's printing shirts. He printed this shirt. He's he's buying a screen printer. He's going to start doing merch for all of us. And he's bussing tables, not waiting tables at some baller-ass restaurant. He's bussing fucking tables. That is the story of success. So tell that fucking story. Tell that story. Don't just tell people the good stuff. Hey, fitness person, tell people how much you look in the mirror and pick yourself apart. Tell people that. And you talk about self-love. Yeah, talk about self-love, but talk about how you don't have it. And how do I know? I know you. I know you. And I know people who know you. And I know that world. The gym where I work out is the number one gym for bodybuilders on a professional level in San Diego. And San Diego Southern California is a big bodybuilding. Probably it's the mecca of bodybuilding, Southern California. So talk about that too. Talk about that too. Talk about the sacrifice you make in lifestyle so that you can look like that. Don't sell this as if this is easy or that most people can do this. Most people cannot do what you're doing. You're selling this body because you're selling that you can have this ass, but most people cannot. Most people cannot. I'm ranting. But it's like you ask me how to do it. It's the same thing. Same thing. You hear Joe Rogan talk about the same thing with stand-up comedy. People ask, how do I be a stand-up comedy? You get on fucking stage and you suck at it and you try and you write and you do it all. And then eventually 10 years later, you are that. For me, I went and I worked in a gym and had no clients. Worked in a gym and sold $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 off of the floor. Just walking around talking to people, sold thousands of dollars of training. Personal trained from 5 a.m. until 11, went to school, went to college, and then went back to the gym from 4:30 to 7:30. Did that for a number of years. Taught shitty classes. I suck at teaching classes, so I went and embarrassed myself and taught classes from 5 a.m. to 6. And then trained personal training clients and worked out for an hour and a half that day. Did that for years. Then get all the licensing and certifications that make you knowledgeable in your craft. Then apply your craft. Go on your own, independent. Realize how hard it is to market yourself. Struggle with marketing, realize, or you could be super successful. Boom. Some people hit it and they make it. I'm not hating on them. I never do. Some people do that. I'm a grinder. Everything in my life is a grind. Sobriety, mental health struggles, business. It's just keep fucking going, grinding. So I'm not hating on a quickly successful person. Bang, get that money. If your Instagram's popping and you can monetize it, get that fucking money. That's not my story. But where I come from, I'm kind of old school in the sense that do the fucking work and struggle and suffer. And then when you're older and you have children, which I have children, my children watch me grind it out. They watch me do interviews, do a podcast, then drive Postmates. Put food on the table. Rick Ross says, I shovel shit. I CO. So we could bow our head and pray over the goddamn meatloaf. Bars, that's fire. People made fun of him for being a CEO. First of all, I know some goon-ass CEOs. I know some CEOs that'll cut your face up for a fact. So CEOs are the criminals of the police force. So you can hate on him being a CEO, but there's CEOs that sell dope. But talk about that shit. Do the work. Grind it out. Then you can say, I have a podcast because I know what suffering is. I know what struggling is. I know what it is. I learned professionally and I learned personally the ups and downs of life and of fitness. Me, I'm 280 pounds right now. I was 165 pounds when I started working out. Did a ton of steroids. Got abused steroids. Ruined my endocrine system. Was healthy and unhealthy at the same time within my fitness life. So when I hear clients speaking unhealthy about their bodies, I know exactly what you're talking about. When you're losing tons of weight, eating 1,000 calories, and you feel like I'm getting results, I'm getting shredded. Okay, when you rebound, because you're 100% going to rebound, 95% of dieters gain their weight back within 5 years. So you're going to rebound. My goal is to teach you to lose weight, slow and controlled, and to feed you more. Feed you more as you go. So when it goes back to eating semi-normal, you rebound less. Dude, go through it. Go through it and be okay going through it. I have sometimes where I'm like, fuck, this shit ain't working. When you have kids, you're like, fuck. You can't tell him. Dave Chappelle makes that joke. He's like, I don't know what we're going to do today, brother. To his kids, I don't know what the fuck. Sometimes I tell my girl, like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. But guess what? I'm going to talk about some of the cool things that are happening in my life. But right now, I'm reaping what I have sown. I have a very dope opportunity to do very dope things. And I have a very dope life. But I suffered and I grinded it out. That is the story of success. Not I get popping on Instagram because I got a fat ass, or I got popping on Instagram because I'm shredded and I got a full schedule. That is not the common business story. Tell the common business story. Also, tell your story. That's fine. There's room for all of it. There's room for all of it. This podcast, one listener at a time. One new listener at a time. Our downloads grow and grow and grow, and we chip away. And you come do it. You do it like a million motherfuckers are listening. This isn't a good podcast. This is an entertaining podcast. I know it is. I know for a fact it is. I listen to other people's podcasts, especially in San Diego. I listen to other people's podcasts, and I don't say I'm better and be shitty about it because I'm not like that. Everyone who asks me if they should how to start a podcast, I tell them to start it. I have never once said don't do that. Never once. Do it. Why the fuck not? Do whatever your heart desires. Do whatever is going to make you fucking happy, whether you suck at it or not. Do things you suck at. Everybody's waiting to do things that they're good at, or, sticking to things that they're good at. Do things you suck at. Struggle, suffer on purpose. Suffer on purpose. Should that be the name of the podcast? Suffer on fucking purpose. Struggle. Stop trying to skip the struggle because, I want to be an influencer. Stop trying to skip the struggle, dude. Fuck, man. I'm getting frustrated because people keep asking me how to skip the line. You don't get I will guide you. I will guide you, and I will, if you want to be mentored, understand that I'm going to put you through the work and tell you, okay, if you want to be in fitness, go get a high quality personal training certification. Start there, study for 6 months. Study for 6 months, take the test, do the case study. Okay, you want to do nutrition? Go get a nutrition certification. Go to Precision Nutrition, NASN. Go do some licensing or some sort of certification to make you proficient in working with nutrition. Do it in the gym. Do it in a gym, even though gyms are closed. Do it in a gym. Learn how to sell at 24 Hour Fitness or Crunch Fitness or a New York Sports Club. Like Equinox, if you can get up in there. Learn how to sell from a sales team. Work the floor of a gym. Because they're not just going to throw referrals at you. Especially now, they have salespeople at 24 Hours Gym, so the trainer doesn't do the selling. The trainer just does the training. Make $10 an hour personal training. Fucking struggle. Fucking struggle on purpose. I sound like such a fucking nagger. Ooh, that sounds bad. I'm saying I'm nagging. I'm nagging. I am being a nagger. Oh, I'm being a big word. I'm not being a big word, but that sounds bad. I don't say that word often. What else? But I'm reaping what I'm sowing right now. I'm going to be sober coaching. And, I regard myself as an advocate for people who struggle with mental health and people who struggle with addiction. I come in here and I bear my entire recovery and addiction, and mental health struggles. I bear it here to make it normal. Benny said, Eric, watch, in 5 years, you will be doing things in the mental health community that haven't been done before. especially for Black men, to have essentially a mental health podcast where I'm not just talking about my anxiety. I'm experiencing, I did a podcast where I had an anxiety attack on the podcast and went through the podcast. It was one of the most well-received podcasts we've done, by the way. People were like, thank you, boom, boom. So I'm advocating for people with mental health. I'm doing this work. I'm sharing my experience. I'm setting up, to do some speaking in hospitals, which I haven't been doing a lot of service in 12-step. So I'm going to be speaking in a lot of hospitals in the next couple months. I love doing it. That's one of my favorite things to do. But I want to advocate for people like me, because there's people like me walking down Imperial talking to themselves, spray shitting. But that's what I would be doing. If it wasn't for sobriety and recovery, I'd be spray shitting, fucking jerking off, talking to myself down the street. I owe every bit of my life to my recovery. Every bit of it. There's motherfuckers who know me and know how bad I was. I owe every bit of it to recovery. And I say that shit all the time in meetings. I say that shit all the time. And people are so probably annoyed. They're like, this motherfucker's faking it. No, bro, I owe everything, my children, this podcast, everything in my life to getting sober, because I could not function at all. And now to be coaching people through their sobriety and be a companion, smacking dope out of people's hands. Get your life together. Even though that I don't think that, I don't know if that's the most effective way to get sober, but there's no monopoly on getting sober and recovery. There's no monopoly. There's smart recovery. I've worked in treatment before. I've worked in recovery before. There's no monopoly on getting sober. 12-step was the last thing that I wanted to do. It was my last option. When I went to rehab, it was like, what do you want me to do? What do the most desperate people do? They go to 12-step. I was like, that's where I'll be all day, every day. That's where I'll be all day, every day. And I owe every bit of my life to that. I was talking about it yesterday. I have no secrets right now. There's no secrets in my life. If I don't say it on this podcast, I tell another man or another woman. I have no secrets, none. There's multiple people in this world who know everything about me. Everything. All of the ups and downs. I have no secrets. And I get to teach these things to my children. My children get to see a generally sober house. My girl's been drinking a little bit. She's normal. She's normal. She's not an alcoholic. She has no addictive tendencies. It's fucking weird. Hey, you're too normal. What's your weird stuff? But I realize what her weird stuff is. But I'm reaping what I've sown. Finally. Thank God. And I'm humble about it because I struggled. Be humble and struggle. That's the podcast. Should that be the name of the podcast? Struggle on Purpose? Suffer on Purpose. Let's write that down. Don't just do what you're good at, man. Don't try to skip the line. Don't try to just be an influencer. Don't try to just I heard you can make money on TikTok. Let me pop off on TikTok. Because TikTok has in part of their algorithm that your first video, they make you get a lot of likes on your first video so you can get that dopamine hit and keep coming back. Ooh, they're smart. Let me get popping on TikTok. Let me get popping on Instagram. Let me show my butt. Not every girl, but there are so millions of girls on Instagram who have a fat ass who show their big old fat ass for the likes. Yeah, that's all they're doing it for. They're not saying anything profound. They're not providing any substance into the world. None. They're just providing their butt and say, here, if you go to my OnlyFans, you can see my whole asshole. Bless those women, though. You need hoes. You need hoes in the world. You are part of this ecosystem. Not hoes, loose women, liberated women. Be sexually free. We need you. And whole culture is popping. What's one of the most popular songs right now? WAP. Wet Ass Pussy. It's one of the most popular songs right now. Normalize sexual liberation for women. I believe men can be hypersexual. Actually, men should probably be less sexual. Porn perpetuates rape culture. Fact. Face fucking. Most girls don't want their face fucked. I'm sorry, guys. Most girls don't want that. Most girls don't want to be fucking fingered and like their guts blown out. A lot of girls don't. Not most girls. I hate to grossly generalize because motherfuckers do that shit all the time. Ugh, let me throw that away, rewind that shit. That is not what I'm saying. But a lot of people, the idea that there's kids who are 15, 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe younger, watching porn thinking that is what sex is like. It's normalizing a toxic way of viewing people and women and male-female interaction. And that's a fact. That's not my opinion. That is not my opinion. That is not my opinion. But I don't want to yuck your yum. I want sexual liberation for people. I want people to be sexually free. But let's understand that a lot of sexual behavior is a maladaptive behavior. Sexual trauma leads to some of these sexual acts. And lack of attention that people are getting. You know? So like I started my OnlyFans so people I can make some money. Hypersexualizing myself. And we talked about that last week. A girl is sexualized for the first time. Who knows how young? We're seeing this child trafficking. They rescued a girl as young as 2 years old who was sexually abused by more than 20 men in one day. So 2-year-old little girl and boy are sexualized that young. So you spend your whole life being preyed upon by men and women, men personally, men most often, I would say, generalization, but being sexualized and preyed upon, sometimes sometimes not preyed upon, sometimes pursued in a very healthy manner. Sometimes there's healthy dicks too. Karate chopping dicks away. Ha, 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 ha. Some bad dicks, some good dicks. Sometimes I've been the bad dick. Sometimes I've been the toxic man pursuing. So this is not coming from a place of me not being toxic as fuck. I'm toxic as fuck. Let me just say that. Boom, let's say that. Everybody on my social media knows I have been toxic as fuck. So I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm coming from someone in it. I've been in it. I've been the dude. I don't know how men sleep at night knowing that we were like that. That shit fucking eats me up. That shit really bothers me because I've been thinking on a larger level, on an introspective, existential level, what women have been experiencing, what some of the women I've interacted have experienced when it just comes to me, and I know I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? Talking about that, thinking about that when we think what we do to women. So sexualized as even as young as babies with who knows thinking about that? Who knows who's thinking about that? So sexualized as babies and then spend their whole life karate chopping dicks away only to become 19 and to show their ass on Instagram for likes. And then they say, you know what? For money, I can spread my cheeks or I can twerk or I can show my pussy and my titties and my vagina and my breasts. I can show them and I can make money now. So not only do people like it, people will pay me and I can build a source of income. I want women to be sexually liberated. I want everybody to be sexually liberated. Be free. Be free. You don't want to yuck people's yum. You don't want to shame people because when you shame things, that becomes destructive. When you live in shame. Shame is not always bad. That's a whole nother podcast. But when you shame things and create a cycle of shame, that creates more maladaptive behaviors, more hypersexuality where you put yourself in risky situations. This isn't my opinion. This is all available to look up. All available. But then, so this person who's been sexualized their entire life now finds validation and then monetary success and gain for being sexualized. And this is promoted. This is promoted. And men like me have played within this system and participated within this system. It doesn't, for me, my conscience, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. I've woken up so many times in the middle of the night like, oh my God, I was such a piece of shit. Fuck, man. I have a little sister. I have a little sister now thinking of my partner, thinking what she experienced. It's heavy. And I don't even think there's some women you would tell this to and they couldn't even perceive what you're saying. Because it's not about, I just said, don't shame it. Don't shame it. Don't shame it. But be free sexually. But let's acknowledge what we're doing here. Let's acknowledge what we're doing here. For me as a coach, it doesn't even make sense to compare myself to female coaches because they're playing a whole different game. They're playing a whole different game. They're saying, I am a pretty girl who has had a transformative experience and I've transformed myself, so I want to help other people transform themselves. How many female fitness coaches do you know who are busted? Not that many. I don't know any. Not one. And even if they're fit, come on, yo. We're talking about something today. We're talking about something. So this is going to make sense for somebody. So, suffer on purpose. Matt, can we tell you how we doing on time? Suffer on purpose. Don't understand what we're doing to women. Understand what I've done to women. Let me not cop out. And I'm not blaming other men. This is me. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about I talked about business as usual. This is what we're doing. It's the game we're playing. And then if you're a good guy, then you're a bitch. Like the way that I speak about emotions and things like this, I'm looked at as a bitch. I'm looked at as a beta male, even though people don't know that I'll smack you in the face for your Roxy's. People don't know that. They don't know that side of me. It took a lot of violence to get to this bitch ass beta male space. How are we doing on time? How are we doing on time? 33 minutes. Suffer on purpose. Suffer on purpose. Stop trying to skip that shit. And you're going to lose. Sometimes you're going to lose. So not everybody. Some people are going to win all the time. But, they're going to lose somewhere. They may get divorced. They may have their child be addicted to drugs. They're going to suffer. You don't get to skip suffering. Everybody suffers. Everybody suffers. But I'm saying suffer on purpose. Struggle before you try to reap benefits that you don't deserve. Even college students. Oh, let's talk about this. Let's finish with this. Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's VP. Okay. Did they choose Kamala Harris because of her race and her gender? Let's say maybe. Let's say probably. Let's say that's exactly the virtue, the signaling of virtue that they're doing. Let's say that. Let's say that. So, are they signaling virtue? Yes. But what people are doing, what people are going to do to Kamala Harris, whether she is black or Indian, she's a woman of color. So stop trying to, this is what we all do. We all, black people and white people negate black men and women's racial status. You're not black enough. You're the good kind of black. You're using your black. Stop doing that. And if you play that, you are fucking racist. That is racist. We're going to call it out. And guess what? The right Donald Trump supporters are going to play every bit of that. They're going to ask her to legitimize her ethnicity. Why should she question her existence, you fuck? I don't necessarily agree with this pick, by the way. This is not who I would have picked. But you're gonna abuse this woman and take and strip and question her racial identity. Why should she have to question her racial identity? You fuck. So the right is gonna use that, which is in essence racist. So why do we say you're all racist? Because you use racist shit. You do racist ass shit. And then you pass it for everybody else not allowing, thinking that's cool as PC culture. When conservatives are against PC culture, they're like, why can't I be racist and sexist out loud? Why can't I say racist and sexist shit? Why can't I call people names out loud? And that's what part of what Donald Trump does is he allows that because he does that. Because he does that. And people like him because he says what is on his mind. At least he's honest. Do I want everybody to be honest with everything, every dirty thing that they think? No. If I did that working at Apple, if I said the things that Donald Trump said, any workplace, HR would say, I'm sorry, you got to go. Okay, so that's point number 1 and number 2. I don't know how many points were there. That's point number 1 and number 2. Being the district attorney, this for black people and white people. Being the district attorney. Do you know I have an ADA in my family. I'm not going to say who. But I have people, black man in my family who is an ADA. Does he have to prosecute other black people? Yes. Is the criminalization and the criminality in the black and brown community, is it a piece of systemic racism? Yes. Being put in poverty and perpetuating poverty your entire life will perpetuate crime. Redlining and keeping people in ghettos their entire life will perpetuate crime and poverty. Let's not pretend how we got here. We got here through racism. There's a clear linear path. You educate yourself. That's not my job to educate you. So Kamala Harris was a district attorney. First of all, you make it the district attorney of one of the largest bureaucracies within California. You do it. Go ahead. I'll wait. So people say like, she did this, she did that. Okay, you work in HR at Home Depot. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, dude. You are qualified. You're the pundit who's qualified to criticize this person's criticize their work experience just because you have an opinion. And that's what people is Dunning-Kruger. Let's look it up. Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger. In the field of psychology, the Dunning-Kruger effect is cognitive bias in which people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. You are a dumb fuck. You're a dumb fuck. And there's one person I'm thinking in particular. You're a personal trainer. You're good at getting people fit. You have no qualifications to question this woman's law degree. First of all, you couldn't do it if you wanted to. You couldn't do it if you wanted to. But even if you could do it, you would have to make difficult decisions that you can't even perceive you need to make in order to keep your community safe, perceivably safe, in order to keep your constituents happy, because law and order is part of this political structure, Democrat and conservative, left and right. Safe neighborhoods. I know I have 2 children. I want a safe neighborhood. If that means prosecuting people who are more into people who are within criminality, I want you to be harsh. Not harsh. I don't want you to over prosecute, but I want you to prosecute them justly. I want them in jail. I don't want them walking the streets, risking my home and my safety. Period. I don't. I support cops generally. I want the police. I don't want to defund the police or abolish the police. When we say defund, what I want is reappropriate funds from the police, demilitarize the police. The police don't need tons of AR-15s, trucks, and fucking all that. They don't need that. I don't want my police to have that. So when I say I'm not for defund the police, I'm for reappropriation of funds. But when it comes to, do you think you have the qualifications to question her legitimacy as a district attorney? No, you don't, you dumb fuck. Take it easy, Dunning-Kruger. You think you have and that's because social media, and I do it too. But the difference between what I do and what other people do is I share my personal experience, and I come from a place of humility. I come from a place of not knowing what the fuck I'm talking about. And I say that often. And as Americans, we have the right to criticize our elected officials. So that's part of what America is. And I think we have an obligation to question our government. But don't question someone's existence and their identity and their education because you disagree with them politically. The way we're talking about each other politically is so fucked. I call it disgusting. It's disgusting. And I comment on conservatives, and when I comment, I don't comment and disagree because there's no argument. There's no arguing on those platforms. If you want to argue, come on the podcast. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a battle of ideas. I'm having a battle of ideas right now. Let's have a battle of ideas. Let's talk about policy. Let's talk about what you think is positive policy. Don't just say, look at the economy. Okay, break it down to me. You can't. You can't break it down to me. Neither can I. You can't break it down. So the economy's good. How did the economy get good? Was it Obama entirely? Or is it your opinion that Donald Trump did it? Do you know for a fact that he did that? You don't know. You don't know. You're a personal trainer. You don't fucking know what you're talking about. So, and then they say the Dems, that someone said, give the Dems the vaccination since they're all for it. So we could test it on them. That's your neighbor, you fuck. He lives next to you. His kid goes to school and studies next to your kid. He might be the police officer who protects your home later in life. He might be the doctor who saves your life. You're so gross. It's gross. It is gross. And these are the ramifications. This is a Donald Trump presidency. It's made people disgusting. That's why I want him gone. Not because of his policy. Not because of his policy. It's because the language he's used and the piss poor leadership. When there is adversity, I want a leader who's going to bring us together. I don't want a leader who's going to separate us into factions. That's what he's done. And that's when it's fascism. That's when people say it's fascism. It borders on fascism. And people say Democrats are communists because you want to have free healthcare. That's not communism. You stupid fuck. That's helping somebody else. I don't believe in communism. I believe in helping other people. If I can pay more in taxes, my whole family has done this in New York State. I've done this, and my people do this in California. I'm willing to pay more in taxes so the people in my community are protected and safe. People who look like me are having funds. The problem I have is that bureaucracy squanders funds. There needs to be more accountability in California and New York on where our taxes go. I don't give a fuck what people say. Stop giving the police more and more money. Give the teachers union more and more money. There's more investment in criminalizing people than there is in educating people. That is a fucking problem. Reappropriate funds. Yo, I'm dropping fucking knowledge on these motherfuckers right now. I'm dropping knowledge. Yeah, I came in hot today. We're going to wrap it up, though. Suffer on Purpose. That's the name of this podcast. Stop trying to skip it. That's Dunning-Kruger. You think you're more qualified than you are. You think you're more qualified than you are. You really do. And there's people who I'm speaking to directly. But of course, take risks. Go follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. Whether you want to skip the line or not, follow your dreams. Everybody be free. Start a podcast. I encourage everyone who's ever asked me to start a podcast, I tell everyone to do it. I never say don't do it. But I know how hard this is. I know how hard it is to be interesting and to have a nuanced approach to every idea. Everyone's thinking of everything. We're all thinking of everything, and we're all watching everything on social media. So I know how hard it is to have a nuanced approach, even in the personal development space, because there's a lot of redundancies. Authentic self, self-love, self-care, a lot of redundancies. Is that a word? Redundancies? If it's not a word, I'm sorry. Sounds legit. Let's look it up really quick. It sure is. It sure is. That's a $12 word. Charge it to the game. I have a 10th grade education. Fuck you. There's a lot of redundancies in the personal development space. Can you have a nuanced approach to it? Can you have a nuanced thought process around it? When it comes to politics, there are nuances. When it comes to race issues, can you work within the gray areas in the nuance? If you're going to start a podcast, can you do that? It's harder to do than you think. You got to spend a lot of time thinking. That's why, I'm doing this Ron Funches writing exercise. Love, hate, fear. What we talk, really where this podcast came from is my fear of success, because I'm finally finding some success. And it's scary. I don't want to fuck it up. But I've been putting this work in. Anyway, suffer on purpose. Stop trying to skip the line, but follow your dreams at the same time. If that is a contradiction, life is duality. Do both. It's fine. Be both. Let's wrap it up.
Vultures circling above, they all in a piece, but they don't even know my name. Won't get even to swipe for the train. Cloudy, ride to the airport, gotta get right for the plane. Custom, smell like kush. Wifey hand in the tish. Yes, and I got no shame. Some line to shine. With a broke, you got no game. Waking up next to the scat. Can't go home to a dame. Nah, tell themselves they're the same. Really though, who can they blame? I don't blame them either. They just wanna play the game and they're eager still. I don't wanna know you. I'm busy. You don't even know thyself.